First of all, I definitely got sticker shock moving to the Bay Area. This is my 5th year in the Bay Area. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. Just really fell in love with the region, the job opportunities, the incredible weather, the people. It's been amazing. And I got an entry-level job at Big Tech, and it was 2x salary. 2x salary. So there was no way I was going to turn that down. Yeah, huge difference. And then just the opportunities for growth. I mean, people here are, just a software engineer can make $500,000 out here. I just knew that I wanted to stay here long term. And so started looking into getting a home. And that's when I reached out to you. And that's how the journey started. But over time, after being here for more than 4 years, you get tired of, paying, let's say, $3,000 a month and then just having nothing, no equity at all. Definitely condos were much better for my price range. And then I still have more money left over to invest. And I can always move up to a single family home much later. But I definitely knew that a condo was going to be fine for my use case.
And it's a good move because that's how most people get started. But it doesn't make much sense to just keep trying to... Okay, I'm excited to showcase the story about my buddy Juan of making the move to settle down here. But before we talk about the home buying journey itself, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do as a profession, and how long you've lived in the Bay Area for?
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer in big tech. I've been here this is my 5th year in the Bay Area. I'm originally from Texas, originally from El Paso, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, I graduated in computer science in Austin, and then I started working out there, and I got an opportunity to work at a big tech company out here in the Bay Area. So took that opportunity and moved out here, and just really fell in love with the region, the job opportunities, the incredible weather, the people. It's been amazing, and I just knew that I wanted to stay here long term, and so started looking into getting a home, and that's when I reached out to you, and that's how the journey started.
Amazing. Let's take a little bit step back. So when you, how long did you work in Texas for? And was this an engineering job? And then what led you to even consider areas outside at that time? Was it more opportunities here? Like, what was the backstory at that time?
Yeah, so I went to school in Austin for 5 years, and then I got a job at the Home Depot as a software engineer working on their website. And I worked there for a year and a half, but I knew that I wanted to work at like an actual tech company because at my previous job, it was more like we were supplementary to the company. The tech was not completely driving the company. And so there are many great opportunities in Texas, of course, but I just knew that working at like the HQ of a company, like where everything's going on, all the events are happening, that would be a better way for me to continue to expand in my career and make more connections, basically. I also lived in Texas my entire life. I was there for like 23 years, and I just knew that I just wanted to go to a different region and experience something different.
100%. And that's a kudos to you, because some people, they live in an area, they are comfortable. I'm sure it was very comfortable working in that place, but it wasn't maybe growth wise of a challenge, and you felt like maybe there could be so much more you could do, right? Now, when you applied for jobs and you found out the incomes and salaries, what was the difference between percentage wise from the Home Depot software engineer? And it was a lateral move, right? It wasn't like you're a higher IC or anything like that.
No, yeah, it was. I got an entry level job
Okay.
at Big Tech, and it was 2x salary, 2x salary. So there was no way I was going to turn that down. Yeah, huge difference, and then just the opportunities for growth. I mean, people here are, just a software engineer can make $500,000 out here, and if you're at a company like I was before, where it's a non-tech company. You can make a good salary, and of course, where I was living, it was a much lower cost of living, but overall, like, night and day difference.
100%, 100%. And so walk us through then the thought process, because you were here for a good many of years, right? For about 5 years. So you're renting during that time. And so what was the decision to be like, all right, I've been renting for this amount of time, I got to do something. How did that transpire?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I definitely got sticker shock moving to the Bay Area. I mean, in Austin, can't quite remember exactly what my rent was, but let's say it was less than $2,000. for a one bedroom. And then out here, I mean, easily, $2,500, $3,000 for a one bedroom apartment. So just, I would run the calculations of renting versus buying, and it's really hard to get the numbers just right. But I would justify continuing to rent because I thought, well, it is very expensive to rent, but it's probably fine. I want that flexibility for now.
Right.
But over time, after being here for more than 4 years, you get tired of, paying, let's say, $3,000 a month and then just having nothing, no equity at all.
Yeah.
So it can be fine for a lot of people. Again, if you want that flexibility, it's great.
Yep.
Another thing too is, when I was renting, let's say at my first apartment, I mean, the washer dryer, the dishwasher was not good quality at all, just didn't work well. And I mean, you can't really replace it, right?
Yeah. Or you could just will be wasting money because it's not going to be yours. You can't
Yeah,
take it with you somewhere else.
exactly. Yeah,
So-
you're just limited in what you can do.
Yeah.
So I'm much happier, definitely, as an owner, I would say.
Yeah. So walk us through the beginning of the journey because like what was important for you for the place that you call the base for a couple of years? Like how did you think about how you prioritize what was important?
Yeah, so of course that calculation is different for everyone. So for me, as a single guy, it wasn't important to me, to see what schools were in the area and
Sure.
things like that. So for me, the number one thing was, am I a reasonable commute to work? Can I get to work within, let's say, 30 minutes? That was number one. Number two, is it an area that's probably going to keep going up in value? Of course, is it like safe enough that I'm not hearing, I don't know, crime around me and things like that? That was really important. Initially, when I spoke to you initially, I thought maybe I could get like a one bedroom because I was like, well, it's just me.
Hmm.
And then after doing some evaluation, I thought, well, I should get at least a two bedroom just because of that resale value. What if I want family over or I want to rent out a room or something like that?
Hmm.
So that was another thing, at least two bedrooms, good location, make sure it's a good area in terms of safety and a reasonable commute to work. And other than that, I was flexible. I knew that I was okay with not getting a single family home because there were
Yep.
definitely condos were much better for my price range, and then I still have more money left over to invest, and I can always move up to a single family home much later. But I definitely knew that a condo was going to be fine for my use case.
And it's a good move because that's how most people get started. Most people will start off with buying a condo or a townhome that works for them, especially in your case. You're a single individual. You're not many people that are tuning in. They may be a married couple that have dual income, and they've been maybe working also for a lot longer. But it doesn't make much sense to just keep trying to save to try to save for that single family where that single family is growing at a certain velocity anyways. So rather than, as you just mentioned, I mean, 5 years goes by quick too, right? And I'm sure the next 4 or 5 years will go by very quick. And so even though renting is more flexible, if you're really at a point that you're so indecisive that you wouldn't stay in the area, then it makes sense to rent. But quickly, within a snap of a finger, 5 years goes by, and then you can count back and be like, all right, where did all that money actually go?
Yeah.
Right. And then so you made the right move to figure out, okay, well, what could work? Okay, it's within still a relatively easy commute to work, right? There's still things to do around the area, and most importantly, it works with the budget that you had at that time.
Yeah, yeah. And not only that, but especially with the pandemic and everything, tech companies are also giving us more flexibility. So I
Right.
thought, hey, I'm okay with choosing a place to stay at for a while
Yeah.
because they're allowing me to work from home a few days a week. And if I do need a commute there, I don't need to be there at a very specific time. So they're giving me that flexibility. Then yes, I can also just actually pick a place to stay at. And even if my job changes, I'll figure it out, basically.
And what made it work for you too is we discussed this in the beginning when we were thinking about like what kind of place to get, and ultimately you decided to get a two bedroom for that ability to be able to rent out the other room, right? Because at the end of the day, now you are the mini landlord, right? You have your own place that you live in, but you also have, in your case, a roommate, and that's a very common approach that people do as they get either a condo or townhome. They buy a little bit more than they may need. It's easier to resell, and it tends to do better. At the same time, if you get other people to pay off some of your mortgage, then that's also a win. And also it just keeps it more entertaining. There's also more companionship.
Exactly, exactly. It's more lively. I was able to get a family member to move in with me, so I've known him my whole life, and that was amazing. And yeah, it's way more lively. Someone to take me to the airport,
Yeah.
right? It's fantastic. And then any annoyances that there might be, well, I'm getting paid more than $1,000 a month to deal with any of those annoyances, so it's worth it, right?
That's right. And the thing is that also adds up very quickly too. It goes back on the same side of it. Like being a renter, the cost adds up very quickly, but also being the landlord collecting that amount, it also goes back really quickly too, right? Like
Oh yeah.
within a matter of time, like that's even if it's quote unquote $1,000 a month, that's still ultimately $12,000 a year. That is tax. I mean, it's basically there's no tax on that. That's coming in from the income perspective, right?
Exactly.
So that's super powerful. Now, what do you how do you envision your plans, right? Like, how do you envision the future of yourself? This is a good starting base. I know you haven't bought that long ago, but how do you envision the next 5 years? Like, what would you want to do real estate wise? Like, what would you think of?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm super pleased with this spot. I see myself holding on to it for the next 5 years. I'm definitely interested in one day getting married, having a family, all those things. So I think when that happens, then I'm gonna evaluate. I think this place is big enough that I could have my partner move
Yeah.
in with me here. And I think probably once we want to have some kids, then at that point we may consider moving somewhere else. But at that point, I'll have a lot more equity in this place. I'll have some savings, and I should feel comfortable like getting maybe a townhome or upgrading to something else at that point. I'm also interested in entertaining the idea of keeping this spot and renting it out, and maybe renting somewhere else or buying another place if I can. So I'm interested in continuing to rent it out, but I really need to make sure the numbers make sense. Because right now, my costs, like let's say my mortgage is, I have 6.5% interest rate, but if my mortgage is 3,900, this place would probably rent for no more than 3,600.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be paying out of pocket if I were to move out and try to get a renter. So maybe that might not make sense, but we'll see. That calculation could really change in 5 years. I'm going to refinance. I'm going to have more equity, and
Right.
it might make more sense a little bit later. But at this current time, yeah, it wouldn't make sense for me to just rent it out. I would.
And I think that's fair. Most of the time, especially when you're so early of owning, especially with the rates that they are now, it makes a lot of financial sense to get out of renting and owning a place. Now, to keep it as a rental, that's a different question, different math, right? There may be better ways. So, those that are considering it, unless you own it for a long time, it probably doesn't make too much financial sense to keep it anymore, because now you also have other options that you can do. You could certainly invest in the stock market, you can invest in other things. But for the first milestone that you're at, it generally makes financial sense to do for combination of not paying rent anymore, combination of the tax side of things, combination of just the general appreciation of properties like this. But that's a beauty, that's a benefit. Like there's no real rush anymore at this point. Now there may be a financial or a personal need, right? Like maybe you guys do even better work wise, or you get a partner and your partner wants to live somewhere else, and those are all different things. But maybe you can get a partner at that time that's also dual income, and then like how can you say you can't afford a single family at that point, right? Like if it really is dual income, then a lot of things open up. Is there any tips or advice as you went through the journey that you would share to somebody that's either new about it or somebody that's just maybe on the fence? Because you bought in a time where rates are kind of what they are now, so nothing really has changed, and it's been like this for the last 2.5 years. But any parting words of advice or wisdom?
Yeah. One, get a good realtor like this guy.
Thank you.
Someone that is super knowledgeable about the market. I think Spencer made it super easy to understand what can I expect with the budget that I have. Really run the numbers over and over again and make sure you're comfortable with those payments. And I would say for someone in my position, if you're not married, if you're just renting, I would say instead of paying 3,000 plus a month for a one bedroom, really consider the condo route.
Right.
I think it's a great route to take, and you have more you have that pride of ownership, and you can enjoy having the place and all the tax benefits and all the benefits that we mentioned. I'm thinking of other tips. I can be more specific. Like one thing is if you work like in Mountain View, Sunnyvale area, I thought it was a great decision for me to get a place in San Jose. You get a lot more bang for buck. Like this place is 1,300 square feet. I really wouldn't have been able to get something like that probably for the price that I did in Mountain View and Sunnyvale. So be okay with expanding your location and think about, being more flexible with your commute. Don't think you always have to drive to work. You can, a lot of these tech companies, they offer a shuttle stop. You can drive to a place where the shuttle can pick you up and it'll take you to the office. Consider using, like, I use the light rail at like once a week. I'll take the light rail to work. So if you can be more flexible with your commute, choose a location that's a little bit farther away. You can get a lot more for your money. And yeah, I think it's totally worth it to build that equity in and get a place that you enjoy living in.
No, that's awesome advice, and it's also a challenge for some people when it comes to like the people's options to rent versus owning, especially like in really good areas like a Mountain View, Sunnyvale. Different areas will naturally have different products. Like this is a newer, it's not a brand new condo complex, but it's a newer one relative to a lot of the options in like a Mountain View, Sunnyvale. Like those by not just the price is more expensive for something that of comparable because of the distance, but the product itself may just also be older, right? And it's just what it is. Like you have no control. And one of the good things about the condo side is there is only so many condo buildings in every city. So it's not like these new condos spring up every single year. This is not like New York, or this is not like Miami or something where you have brand new condo, massive skyscrapers. It's not like downtown San Francisco. It's these are all areas that have been established for some time. So within a day or within a weekend, everybody will be able to know what are homes generally going for in an area, and then making that decision, like you just said, like, look, this was a little bit further out than where you were before, but for the money, it's doable, and then also certainly the size is also doable too. Right. So good advice. Appreciate all the insights. I think the others will be appreciative of it as well. Thanks for your time.
Totally. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you.
Cool.